If you are looking for an immersive open-world RPG with an airy world and psychological tricks, you should definitely check this out. Bonus points if you play the Skyrim game and you like it, because I present to you one of the most impressive modification and the best I have ever played in this game so far, called Enderal, The Forgotten Stories. Enderal The Forgotten Stories is a full conversion mod for the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. The mod was developed by Sur.ai, a German team known for their work on the renowned Oblivion mod called Nehrim at the Fate's Edge, which is also great, and various other projects regarding full conversions of existing games. This is a really huge modification, I would say a standalone game at this point, that can take 30 to 100 hours depending on your playstyle. The game is available in English and German, fully voiced, it's free, and anyone who owns a legal copy of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim can download and play it, both from Steam and GOG. Isn't that amazing? When it comes to my experience, I had the pleasure to try the game in 2019 for the first time, unlocking only 25% of achievements, something around that. And then again, another approach to that great mod happened this year with the special edition version, which made the production more stable, introduced a new rendering engine, improved lighting effects and gave the game some fixes. But actually I bought it mainly for the new history record of my achievements. I believe you are good to go with the base edition too. It also supports some modification, but keep in mind that most of the time mods for Skyrim will not be compatible. I did not dig into this aspect too much as I had enough fun with Enderal on its own, but as far as I see, the base version is supported by Steam, where we will find available workshops. To my surprise, I couldn't find a workshop for the special edition, so in this case we probably need to rely on Nexus or something else. Enderal features an immersive open world with its own unique dark lore and beautiful but eerie landscape. It's not just a modification, it's a whole new game set in its own world, as mentioned above, a full conversion on top of the Skyrim engine. The mechanics of the game introduce a new skill system and some general improvements and changes that make the experience more mature and rough than Skyrim, especially thanks to the new challenges and survival, where the player has to maintain his so-called fever, which always occurs due to the magical exposure and that are strictly related to the story in the game. In short, when our fever reaches the maximum, we die, so you can imagine how tricky it could be for inexperienced adventurers to maintain the ride, especially as a mage. Developers have added many updates to the mod in the last few years, thanks to which we have two crafting classes, Alchemy and Enchanting, which can now be used for combat, which is really cool. The leveling system has been changed, now we depend a lot on experience gained, which allows us to level up thanks to what our character gains learning points separately for combat skills, crafting skills and perks. After many hours in Skyrim, this kind of leveling system was a big surprise for me. It was more mature and hardcore, I could feel a really good vibe just like in some old favorite games of mine, for example Gothic. The Enderal storyline presents an airy, dark and psychological world. Developers did their best to influence the whole journey with philosophical dilemmas. We take on the role of a character caught up in the political and mystical conflicts of the world of Enderal. As they unravel the secrets behind the Red Madness, the disease that made all living creatures go mad, we must understand and discover the truth behind our own past and catch up with ongoing events. During the adventure we will meet many characters that can like or dislike us depending on our choices, leading to an interesting climax. World will introduce us to some factions, or rather organizations, about which I prefer not to say too much, as I don't want to go into the lore too much. Otherwise this material will be rather not short and I really don't feel ready to make a 2-4 hour long video about it to make a fair analysis. But I also want to keep spoilers to a minimum, so I will skip more details. In terms of available organizations, I can tell you one thing, actually I just want to tell you one thing: if you manage to visit the main capital called Ark and somehow get lost in the dark and poor Undercity, then you might be lucky enough to find and join one of the coolest guilds I have seen in this game. Yes, I mean Ralata. I could spend hours talking about how much I like this faction. It made me start questioning life in a philosophical way, and on top of that, it reminds me a lot of the Dark Brotherhood from Skyrim, which I was kind of an edgy fanboy. I like how the intro in Enderal, unlike Skyrim, is more intense and puts the player on standby from the beginning. It helps a lot with the immersion and lets us dive into the story immediately. World building, interesting races and all the decisions that you remember make the experience very special and enjoyable. Read madness, fever, due to magical exposure and magical potential of the protagonist were key elements for me to keep my interest in the story. At some point I was overwhelmed by the amount of poetic and philosophical content, but in the end it allowed me to learn something new and dive even deeper into the story. Level scaling in Skyrim was something that made the game boring and not challenging at some point. Thanks to the fact that Enderal is more rough about this, like mentioned Gothic, I was much more engaged in the combat system and planning, which meant for me much more fun. World is huge, divided into a few zones, each with different difficulty and extreme differences, which normally I would question, but let's agree on the fact that this is a fantasy world, so desert could possibly reside next to the winter biome. Well, apart from that, we will find a lot of secrets, huge dungeons and areas with individually allocated treasures, and very well designed side quests on top of the solid story alone. From time to time we will encounter some mini bosses which make the whole experience also special. All the curiosity to visit all the places is fueled by some economy in the game, which motivate us to do more side quests and delve into the side areas, dungeons, to unlock more gold even for the progression of our characters, which includes buying the skill books. If this is not enough, I mentioned treasures. The game has amazing armor sets that after completion gives the special bonuses to the character. Another plus for me is the fact that there is almost no fast travel in the game. All we can do is to plan the adventure carefully. We can help ourselves with the mark return spells, some scrolls that we can buy, but it's not easy in the beginning of the game as they are very expensive, or some special services for flying like the Myriad. Brutal state of the world also made me hype as I enjoyed that developers didn't make it too easy thanks to the leveling system and the fact that we can depend on the passive regeneration on health and mana. It requires some planning and micromanagement from players, which is very cool. The best build that made the whole experience even cooler for me was trying out the typical overpowered mage. New skills called Psionic and Entropy got me immersed into the fights much more than Skyrim did with Illusion and Conjuration. But don't get me wrong, any build gonna be overpowered if you plan it right. To sum up, I'm happy that I found this mod. It's really worth it if you are an RPG fan and the Todd Howard engine didn't scare you or just bored you yet. I'm really grateful for the hard work that Sur AI put into making this mod happen. Really thanks for the very solid and good hours I spent in this game. It was remarkable. Probably that is why I wanted to make this short video, to honor the effort and make some kind of memorial of mine that I have played this game. Also huge thanks to you, my dear viewer, for watching this material. It means a lot to me and I am happy if you made it to this very end. Feel free to subscribe, like and comment. I wish you all the best and hope to see you in the next video. Until next time, cheers!